But where do you think this leaves young men today in education?
Alienated. Okay, obviously it's a terrible disturbance from, in sexual relations. This is a horrible thing that's happening to romantic relationships in this culture.
It's all policed. It looks to me as though the way society used to police and monitor the lives of gay people, now it's moved to heterosexual males. They're under constant criticism, surveillance, and their normal sexuality has been pathologized. And so the fact that boys get in terrible trouble, my friend was in a fraternity at, I won't say what school, but they sent out little, invitations that had a silhouette of a sexy woman. They were practically, thrown out of school because they liked an image of an attractive, beautiful woman. So this is, for males now, heterosexual males is treated as some kind of, behavior that has to be corrected, and they should be punished for. And
well, I take it as a career college teacher, I take the very extreme view, 1960s view, okay, that college administrations should absolutely stay out of students' lives, okay, to surveillance of their speech and of their conduct, except when something rises to the level of a crime, in which case it should be reported to the police, okay? So all of this maneuvering and in diversity training and sexual harassment sensitivity training, all that stuff, this has to stop, okay? This is sick. It's Kafkaesque. It's like out of a nightmare, Twilight Zone world. Okay, that how have we tolerated this? Okay, and so young people, okay, many products of prosperous upper middle class homes seem to like it. That's what I cannot understand as a 1960s person. They want the parental proxies. They want the helicopter parents. They want to feel they're all social media, now and so on. They want to feel this presence, the parental eye. My generation of the 1960s, when I arrived in college in 1964, okay, there were parietal rules in place so that the women in my dorm had to sign in at 11 o'clock at night. The men could run free, okay? So it was my generation that rose up, okay, and said we want to be treated equally and we want freedom, okay? The colleges said the world is a dangerous place, okay? You could be attacked, you could be raped, okay? We said, okay, give us the freedom to risk rape. Freedom is much more important, okay, than protection and safety, okay? And that's what young people have given up today. They want reassurance, they want the parental eye on them, okay? And they've given up freedom. And with personal freedom goes freedom of thought, okay? And that's why we're not going to get anything interesting, okay, in intellect or the arts, okay, from a generation that has been coddled and infantilized the way this generation has been. Okay.
Well, I am gonna give them a chance in this sense that, because I'm on social media a lot and Twitter and video, I hear from a lot of dissenters and free spirits and kids who, without politics, I mean, they just thought their way out of it very quickly. And they're not organized in a sense of a big free speech uprising, but they're there and they're starting to find their voice. So I'm thinking that we may begin to hear from them, and I think they're going to be defectors, just as some of the best anti-Marxists were former true believers. I think we're going to have a generation of kids. I'm hoping, maybe this is wishful thinking, but I think there are going to be some brilliant kids who are going to realize they were cheated out of a serious education when they were fed, at Princeton and Yale. They had to read these third-rate French theorists, or even worse, the feminist interpreters. And that there was this generational swindle, that they had professors who themselves had read great works of literature or philosophy, and that they withheld those works and gave them this, this inferior material. They're going to realize what happened and begin to write about it and perhaps reclaim.
Well, it's really started at the level of public school education. Okay, I've been teaching now for like 46 years as a classroom teacher, and I have felt, the slow devolution of the quality of public school education in the classroom. Now, people who teach at the elite schools are just getting products of private schools and the creme de la creme and so on. They're not going to feel what I do as a teacher at an art school, where I get a huge variety. People have different majors in performing arts and graphic arts and so on, and they come from a wide variety of backgrounds. So I really know what has happened, okay? what has happened is these young people now getting to college have no sense of history of any kind, no sense of history, no world geography, okay, no sense, okay, of the violence and the barbarities of history, okay. So they think that the whole world has always been like this, a kind of nice, comfortable world where you can go to the store and get orange juice and milk, and you can turn on the water and the hot water comes out, right? They have no sense whatever, okay, of destruction, okay, of the great civilizations that rose and fell and so on, and how, you know, and how arrogant people get when they're in a comfortable civilization, etc. Okay, right? So they now are being taught to look around them to see defects in America, which is the freest country in the history of the world, okay, and so on, and to feel, okay, that somehow America is the source of all evil in the universe. Okay? It's because they've never been exposed to the actual evil of the history of humanity. Okay? They know nothing. Okay?
No, it's quite true. And right now, the fashion with the identity politics is intersectionality. This is all the rage. And the premise of this theory, it's the idea that all the oppressions intersect with one another and form this matrix of oppression. And so young people in a typical gender studies class now learn that they inhabit a society that is this matrix of oppression, and depending on your identity, you might be advantaged, so you have unearned privilege, or you might be burdened because of your race, or maybe you have disability, or your gender, or your preference, and on and on. But underneath it all is this assumption that the United States is a white supremacist, imperialist, capitalist, patriarchal, oppressive society. And in order to liberate ourselves, we have to, well, I don't even know what they want to do, because it's all, maybe just blame one another and have little feuds on social media and on campus. And the fact that students are open to that view, that the society that they inhabit, that allows them to go to this beautiful university, is a matrix of misery.
Right.
But they've been taught that now through maybe as early as junior high school. They start getting this very distorted view of the world. So we have to hope it changes.
Well, the way they're taught, as far as I can see, all they've been taught is no bullying. Okay, do not bully. Okay, right? You should be a nice person. Okay, because people are really nice. Okay, and that really is that's the answer really to international affairs and geopolitics.
Yeah.
If we're nice, they'll be nice, okay? And if they're not being nice now, it's because we weren't nice to them in the past. Okay? So, I mean, it is so naive. You cannot believe the naivety. And we're heading, okay, into this very murky future, okay, of the world, okay, with terrorism on the rise. And I don't know how this generation is going to cope with it. I don't think they have the ability to cope with it. And so I think we're heading towards something like late Rome, where you have a Praetorian Guard, or you have the military kind of in charge of politics and throwing one emperor out and putting another one in, like that. So it concerns me, because I think
the Vandals are, we've got
I've
ISIS,
been saying
and
this,
we have the Chinese, but they have an excess of 1 million men in the military.
Yes.
So we get these hyper-masculine societies.
Exactly.
And we're, worried about
yes, and we're into like
toxic masculinity
in
the Ivy
League. Let's blend. Let's do like gender bending things. Meanwhile, you have like these, the Vandals and the Huns on the on the borderlines of the empire, etc. Okay, all right. To me, it's like one of my favorite movies, The Time Machine. Okay, which is a movie from my high school years. Of H.G. Wells' novel, a futuristic novel, and you have humanity has split at the end, okay, into the Morlocks. Okay, there's a horrible or industrial, they're kind of subterranean enslavers, and then you have the Eloi. The Eloi are all very gender bending, and they're like the boys are very girlish, and they're all kind of they're eating fruits, and they're lying, and they're enjoying life, and everything's very hedonistic. There's a girl drowning. Look, a girl is drowning. They can't do anything about it. And that's what our universities, our elite schools, are turning out. The Eloi.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you're right. Yes. Well, there we are.
Yep.
So, and then we have on campus this new regime of protecting students from microaggressions and trigger warnings and safe spaces. Yeah. Where did this come about? I mean, how did this come about? And even at University of Santa Cruz, very enterprising professor of psychology has come up with a microaggression app, a mobile app. And so you can immediately report if you overhear someone making an off-color joke or something. It's almost all young women who have volunteered to use the app, because probably not that many guys left at University of Santa Cruz.
Right.
And they're policing one another. It's
Yeah.
an anonymous surveillance system
Yeah.
that would have made the Stasi envious.
Yeah.
And so you can now be reported. Oh, it's overheard. You made, and to see this, and I think Santa Cruz. Think about what that school. When I was in high school, that was where you went. You know, the free spirits, the stoners.
Right.
I think the stoners are still there. But just you went there to experiment, history of consciousness, and now it has devolved into this sort of this very, very controlled, and I don't want to say Stalinist, but yeah, Stalinist.
It is very codified. Like I just last week saw with the Penn State codification, okay, of surveillance and how to report. And every category of possible offense is listed with the numbers to call. If, you know, and they're encouraging people to report. Report on fellow students. Report on faculty. Report on staff. This is madness. This has nothing whatever to do with intellectual development or